Spoken mate. I haven't thought about flying for a long time. I haven't dreamed of that moment when I was alone above the clouds for a long time. I've dreamed of waking up in a room surrounded in blue and green grass for more years than I could dream of remembering. I haven't walked back into the past or scratched on the doors of my origins, where it all came from, since I held up that cape for the last time.
Return to Kent Town 10th Year Anniversary Edition is a revised version of Andy N's first poetry book. The book can be purchased from Amazon and it contains numerous additional material.
Spoken Label. Hi, it's Andy N from Spoken Label. Thank you today for streaming or downloading another episode of Spoken Label. Spoken Label was originally set up on beginning of 2016 and as of speaking has currently nearly 300 sessions. The full archive is available on Spoken Label bandcamp.com. Although it is available for free for stream and download if you wish, I am always grateful for any sort of kind of donation to enable me to keep the running costs of this podcast going. And enjoy. Take care. Bye bye. Spoken Label.
Hi guys, Andy N, Spoken Label, back in the house on Sunday afternoon. We're off to, I think it's Yorkshire today, and I could be wrong with this one because the lady in question is a lovely lady, and I know her from coming to the night Speakeasy at Cold Run with Steve and Amanda, because she took care. I remember the first time she came today, Mary Cunningham. She went and stayed and read out 2 poems about Stretford. Now, anybody that knows me knows I'm a Stretfordtonian. So it's like, to find out, I've got a fella right here who was originally from Stretford, but not now. It's brilliant. So I thought we had to get her on eventually. So, Mary, for people who don't know you, would you like to first of all introduce yourself and tell people where you originally come from and what started off your writing?
Yeah, hi everyone. Hiya, I'm Mary. Andy's nicely introduced me. Thanks so much. Yeah, I grew up in Stretford in Manchester. Spent all my childhood there. Love Stretford. I've got an affinity with it. I think it's because I played out there so much as a kid, and I've had so many happy memories of Stretford that I still find it coming up in my poetry. But and it's where I suppose I first learned to love poetry through going to the library. My mum would take us to the library and get books out. You know, we weren't very rich, but there were lots of good books at the library. Was it Lost Up Library actually, Andy? And
Lost Up Library. Blimey. God, yeah. Wow.
That's where I think I first got like into poetry collections, and I remember reading somebody called Hilaire Belloc. He might not be known by that many, but he was a poet in the 40s, 50s, earlier maybe. But he wrote that poem Matilda, and I can still remember some of the lines off by heart because I just had to read it and learn it in the library. Matilda told such dreadful lies, she makes one gasp and stretch one's eyes. And I think it was one of those that it told a story. It had loads of rhyme and rhythm in it, but it was narration and it was entertaining and it was, you know, it captured me. So it was that. And then of course at school, you know, you go to school and you get introduced to English and write books by people who are dead. And you think, but sometimes it, you know, it spoke to you. And these people were dead for like years ago, hundreds of years ago. So I found the whole thing fascinating that somebody from hundreds of years ago could actually speak to me today. And so even if you're not with the person, the fact that somebody's writing on a page could connect with you was absolutely fascinating. So yeah, sorry, I've divulged already. I'm from Stretford. I'm from Manchester. I love it. And that's how I learned poetry, from being in those streets playing out. I think that's how it happened.
Brilliant. Yeah, obviously, like I said, people obviously want to hear originally from Manchester. Nowadays, obviously, like I said, I think you're Yorkshire-based nowadays, aren't you? So I know you moved away some time ago.
No.
Oh.
I was born and bred in Manchester. My mum and dad are from Ireland.
Yeah. Oh, right. Sorry, my fault. Yeah. I'm getting completely mixed up here, so it's typical me, that. So, yeah. Right, so I thought, all right, your family's from Ireland originally, aren't they? So which part of Ireland are your family's from?
Oh, right, from the West Galway. So they came over from farms, you know, they had loads of kids in farms. They didn't have enough jobs to feed everyone, and lots of people emigrated. It's the story of the Irish. And yeah, they came over when they were 17, and they were from the villages next door. They knew each other before they came over, but it was kind of like my mum decided to leave the village, and dad was her boyfriend, but she was leaving. And she got on the train, and the next thing his mum packed him up and made him go after her. So they ended up dating and courting in the Sharrocks Club in Manchester, and ended up living in Levenshulme and around abouts until they eventually settled in Stretford. And then that's when we came along, 4 of us, me and 3 brothers.
Oh, wow. Oh, brilliant. Like I said, and obviously you're writing, you said, well, I know it's come obviously from the time, like you said, I think you've looked at things, haven't you? Always had experience of love of writing, haven't you? And it looks like you've took your time with some things, haven't you? Doing things a bit differently, so.
I have took my time. I mean, you know, I've loved writing. I've written all my life, but I've also been, I don't know, I felt like I've been on the wrong path in a way, but I felt like I needed to strike out my independence, earn my own money, you know, do stuff like that. And I always put that first. And it's only later on that I've sort of thought, no. And my destiny is to write. I love it. It's effortless when I sit down and try to write something. Or just read anything about the poetry scene, or turn up at one of your nights and hear what other people are up to. I'm just in my element. It's just where I was meant to be. So I finally, you know, allowed that in and let me do it. I think it was because it didn't make any money. I didn't do it first.
Yeah, I can relate to that as well. So it took me much later in life to realise I wanted to do that myself, and I've not made much money in poetry. I made more music I'm more money in my music, and I'm not really a trained musician, so that makes it more fun, really, doesn't it? So
now I'm really glad it doesn't make any money, because I think I don't want it to be what I love be corrupted by money. So it's absolutely, I adore it. I love it. You know, it's just one of the things I like doing.
Yeah. I can certainly see, like, obviously, like I said, we're both has been obviously of a vintage, and I like that word vintage more, and that's all I'm going to say. But you've had a bit of success, really, because I can see you've had a few bits come up in this past year alone, where I want to ask you about a couple of specific things where you were selected, weren't you, for the 2021-2022 cohort of the Writing West Midlands 204 programme.
Yeah.
Now, can you tell us a bit about that then? Because that sounds quite interesting. Straight away.
So Writing West Midlands are a really good literary agency based in Birmingham, and they represent the whole of the West Midlands, and they're Arts Council funded. And each year they have this like application process where you can apply to become one of their new cohort of developing writers, and they help you, mentor you, invite you to lots of events, you know, and help you network with a range of other poets and people in the literary scene, publishers, agents, etc., and help you get a bit of a start, really, if you've not managed to do that so far. You know, some people might go down the MA route, some people just get published and get an agent and get in that way. And this is a kind of a developing mentorship program to try and support emerging writers, I would call it. And I think I applied for it, but it took me many years to do anything about my poetry or apply anywhere. I've been writing for 20 years, but I never pursued publication or anything like that. And so something happened about a few years ago. I got ill, and I changed my perspective on everything. And I decided to just do the things I love while I've still got the time. So I've started to, you know, bring my poems out into the wilderness, really. And that's when I met you guys in Stretford.
Right. So I never knew that, John. So we were we brought your poetry and virginity then, didn't we, at the time? I never knew that.
In spoken word. I mean, I had tried a few things. I'd gone down to like the Poetry Cafe in London. You know, when you get on a train and you go to London and you go to this Betterton Street, I think it is, in Covent Garden, and people turn up from all over the country, nervous now, and they just read their spoken word, and then they get back on a train and go back to the, you know, provinces. And it was a way for me to just have a go at doing it, and I found that I liked it. So over the years I went there a couple of times, but I never really took it seriously. And then I started, after this illness, taking myself and it more seriously, and that's when I was working in Manchester and heard about Speakeasy from Esther Kosh, a friend of mine. And
yeah, I love Esther. I love Esther, and obviously people would know, obviously, like you're good friends of Esther's mum. So as you told me off mic before, which I didn't know actually. So like I said, so.
So they introduced me to Stretford Sit Club and yourselves, and I fell in love with it. And you guys, because you're just so supportive and, you know, important in the poetry scene in Manchester. And I love all the people that go. I love the tribe that we've got, and the way that we support each other, developing our work and reading out loud. So I love that. But I've also, Andy, always loved the written word. I love, you know, crafting a poem on a page, spending time. Sometimes I've just finished a poem yesterday that literally has taken me 10 years to finish. I've never ever been able to finish it. Yesterday I was on cloud 9 because I knew I'd got it. And one of the strange things happens to me anyway, when I finish a piece and I know it's finished, I start to involuntarily cry. It just happens. And I go, oh my God, that means I've got it. Because that's my mark. And I can't make that happen. Do you know what I mean? I can't make that happen. So it's kind of cool when you've worked on something for 10 years. It's like leaving something on your workbench and you've been sculpting it for a while and you have to keep leaving it and going back. And then it came yesterday and I went, wow.
That's tremendous. Tremendous going, that is. I mean, you've managed to get a piece done. It's took you 10 years, that's for sure, with it. Because
I mean, when I say 10 years, Andy, I mean, I might not look at it for 2 years and then go off and do other things and then come back to it again, you know, so it's like in and out for 10 years.
Oh, no. I think straight away, if anybody spends, and you're sure you'd agree with me in this, anybody that spends 10 years working on one poem, they've got my respect, and secondly, I think they're absolute crazy. Because like that sort of thing.
I'm a bit of a dog with a bone, tenacious, I suppose. But I don't know, it was the subject matter of this particular poem. It was about my mum, and I thought, I've got to do her justice. I have to do it justice. I couldn't leave it in a state where I wasn't like really happy with it and happy that I'd done her justice. So that's why that one particularly meant a lot to me. Do you know what I mean?
No, straight away, I get you completely right. It does when you're writing something that means that much to you. Yeah, you've got to let it stew sometimes and build up your own pace. Because I'm writing one about my mum's side of her family at the moment, and that's took a while to write. That's still some distance away from being finished at the minute. So I know what you mean. Sometimes you can't rush it.
No.
If you rush it, you've been dishonest to yourself, I think, sometimes, aren't you?
Sometimes some come out in a day, don't they, or two? And it's just fast. So it's just, I love the whole, I don't know, variety of it. You never know what you're going to get. You sit down at a page and you think you're going to write about something and you go off in a completely different direction. You go in a new subject matter and you find yourself on the internet researching something you never even thought you were going to do that day. But it brings new work and it brings writing.
Yeah. No, I agree with you completely. And I think anything you write, there's no set way of writing it. Every way is different, because like I co-run a live-in informal writing workshop, and I can come away with 2-3 pieces and that, then a couple of hours in the evening that are nearly complete. But then some like to take absolute ages to write. So there's no set pattern. So now I've got to ask you as well. I know obviously you've just had your first publication come up, didn't you, at the end of August? I see as well.
Yeah. Well, as I say, like, because I was ill a few years back, and it really made me reevaluate things and really just get out and do things and not procrastinate any longer and not talk about things. So I've started sending my work off to, the small presses, small magazines, publications. And I've had a couple of quick successes in there. I've been published in the Alchemy Spoon magazine that's based in Staffordshire, and another recent one in the Mechanics Institute Review that's about to be published. So I'm just starting to really take myself seriously in the spoken word scene and in the written publishing scene. So I feel like I'm a hybrid poet, Andy. I feel like I love the spoken word, I love the scene, I love the people, I love the supportive atmosphere, I love the style, the fact that it's a narrative thing, you're trying to entertain, and the elements of form that you get in spoken word. And it's where it's been descended from. Beat poets were a big influence on me, like Tom Waits, Leonard Cohen, and the beat poets before them. And then the R&B scene and where spoken words come from, and it's been in our lives for centuries. So I like that sharing and oral tradition, but at the same time, I like the classic poem on a page, and an introvert like me sitting in my room having a one-to-one experience with a poet who's either living or dead. It doesn't matter to me. It all depends on what the poem's saying. And I love that experience and that exchange too. So I feel like I'm a hybrid poet, and I'd never let one side call the other, because I'd tell them off. You know what I mean? But there is a bit of a war in poetry today. People, the Instagram poets, or they're saying that the establishment's too stuffy, and I don't want those wars. I love it all. I want to celebrate it all.
That's why I agree with you completely. I mean, I'm always a firm believer of poetry. I may not enjoy some pieces more than others, but I do believe in somebody spent time writing that piece, crafting it. That, and whether you're as keen on it as other pieces are, they've got my respect, because it's art after all, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Now, where would you like to see your creativity going next? Then, do you have any sort of ideas for yourself in the future?
Yeah, I think I want to do more performance. I think I've got more to learn, more to give, more to explore a bit more. And obviously because of my link with Manchester, I started exploring a spoken word scene in Manchester. But I've just started looking at Wolverhampton because I might be able to get to some of those gig nights as well. So I want to explore a bit more performance scene. I want to get, if I can, a bit more known in the written word scene, and try and start getting published and maybe get my own pamphlet together. So that's where I'm heading. But I'm trying to get, editors to take me seriously, so I've got to submit for poetry competitions, poetry journals, get a bit more publishing behind me, building my website. So I'm kind of an emerging poet, I would say. I'm not quite ready. I feel I'm ready, but I've got to persuade others that I'm ready.
Of course, that's always the case, same for me as well. So I'm always a believer in that. Like you get there and you get there. And I think no writer works at the same pattern anybody else does anyway, at speed. So and like it's when you get to your first major publication, the collection, Mary, I suspect knowing you, the archive I know you'll have about 7 collections out in 2 years probably.
Well, that's the thing. I have got quite a bit. It's like somebody asked me recently, you've been published. Was that a recent poem, or was that? I said, actually, no, that was 15 years old. I wrote that.
Is it really? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And then another one that I've got published, only written 2 years ago. But there is that, Andy. I have written a lot over 20 years. I just haven't ever tried to submit it. And it's only now that I'm doing it, really.
I think you do, because it's dangerous. And I mean, first of all, it's having the confidence to go get up and to get it out there. Like there's people we know, like obviously I said, I think the way society's changed. It's like, it took me to my late 30s, probably a bit beyond that, to really have the confidence to get my work out there. And like it's the same situation for you. In my case, was also a major health condition as well. When I became diabetic, it made me more focused on my writing. So but you do is like, no person operates a certain timeline, because we both know there's people that speak easy, and I'm not going to name names, that are a lot younger, and both of us do, that's for sure. And they've been at it, say they've been performing straight with them in the late teens.
I think it was about, maybe it was times, I did get a lot of encouragement from my mum, but the main thing I know is that you've got to take yourself seriously. And if you're not prepared to stand up and say, I am a poet, that's a very difficult thing to say. Sometimes some people find it harder than others. And I think I'm a bit of a blend between an introvert and an extrovert. So that's one thing. I don't like to promote myself. And then the other thing is, I have such a respect for poetry. I felt like I couldn't say that of myself, that I am a poet. I love it. I think it's one of the most beautiful things in my life. I enjoy it that much. To call yourself it felt like, oh, I don't think so. I don't think I am. So it took me a long, long time to actually say those words. I'm a poet. This is what I'm meant to do.
I think same for me as well. It took me some acceptance as well. And I think when you eventually realise, I thought, no, I am a poet. This is who I am. And then it's like, that's when things start to change for you straight away with it. So, no, I agree with you completely. Good luck with Mary, definitely with that in the future going forward. So, now I said so. Well, that's pretty well covered all my questions today anyway. So, but it's been a pleasure talking today. Now, I know you're going to do some pieces for us in the second half. So, if people want to find out more about you, Mary, to conclude, where are the best going?
Well, they could easily just go to Google. Because I've finally started to take it seriously, I've got a website now. So if you just Google Mary Cunningham poet, you'll find it straight away. It's just being edited at the moment as I speak, so it will be published later. I'm just in the middle of editing it today. But yeah, Mary Cunningham poet, and I'm on IGTV. I do some spoken word pieces on Instagram. So
I've seen them. Yeah, I think they're really good. Yeah, I've seen them. Yeah, I've certainly been putting a lot of spoken label stuff up on there, and they are great fun. They are, because I think it's such a good way of building your name up, isn't it, on Instagram using it.
Yeah, I'll probably use the Instagram a bit more for my spoken word stuff, and the website will be for both, like spoken word and the written word work that I do. So hopefully there's something on the website for people that they like, because not everybody likes both scenes, but I like both scenes.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think there is you can have a really good crossover at some time, definitely. So cool. Right, okay. Well, that being the case, then, Mary, we'll take a quick break, let you get composed, and we'll be right back. I'll see you in a minute.
Thanks, Andy.
Thanks again, Mary.
Spoken, mate.
Hi, guys. Still here with Mary. She's going to do 4 pieces for us. Over to you, Mary, my friend.
Okay, thanks, Andy. Well, the first one I've got for you is called Taken. She didn't wait to blurt his name out as soon as she was able. Had found this way of settling things that were stirring between her and the many men she was drawn to most effective at holding them back, even when they followed up with questions directed to politely find out about him or to deviously measure her. It took grit to bite the airspace where playful words could have easily been placed, to speak something inane, to break the spell, to quell the swell of murmur. Perceptible to them, she guessed, but so close to the surface in her, she feared her flesh like a ripening girl. So that one was
Wow.
just about
Wow.
a chance in coffee encounter with this guy I suddenly came to know, and it was one of those awkward things when you know there's an attraction there and you think, oh my god, what do you do? So it just came out of that.
Wow. No, it's got. Well, I love what your story is, Mary. You're just such a good storyteller, and that's why it's like you could see every moment of emotion in that on your words there alone. You could. I said, no, that's fantastic. Brilliant stuff.
I think we've been in that situation, haven't we? So, you know.
Oh, yeah.
This is often what women do. We blurt things out. We go, oh, well, my partner, my husband, my whatever, just because we're obviously feeling challenged ourselves by this attraction. So it's hilarious. It makes me laugh. But anyway, now next one I've got for you is one about a childhood friend. I think you've heard this before, Andy. It's called Kathleen. Okay, just one second. This was about a friend who I grew up with in Stretford. Kathleen. I was brought up by a pack of boys. She would wait for me to call or sit meekly on her garden wall at the top of the road where we used to play. She would never walk into the pack. She didn't have the stomach for that. It used to irk me. Time with her was sitting, walking, chatting, acting out made-up stories, mine mostly. And I always got to be the lead. It was sedate, except for when she used to let me jump from front to back seat in her dad's old abandoned car. She found me funny, I think. Would always ask on leaving when next I would call. I used to take my fill and go to climb trees, play hide and seek, swing from every gate and fence, ride a skateboard or make dens in the croft. I used to like the squeals with that lot. I had no idea what I was taking in. But now, when I look back and remember the way she peeked round street corners with me to check for bullies, the way she always took me in after I'd deserted her, her face and smile that thanked me every time. Such constancy. And those diamond green eyes. I'm walking, still walking back to her. And she's running down the hallway to greet me at the door.
Oh, that's powerful. Really, really powerful. What I did really like about the piece, Mary, and you've read that Speakeasy before. And if people are interested, it's also, you can see a video of that on your Instagram feed as well. But you're not directly said it, but it could only be about Stretford, if that makes sense, because there's a feel, whenever you grow up in places where you haven't grown up, so you can often give the nostalgia or the feel of an area away without directly saying it. It's well written, and that's beautifully wrote piece. That.
Oh, thanks, Andy. Thanks, Andy. It means a lot to me, that one. She meant a lot to me, I think. So I've got a couple more. The next one I was going to do for you is, this is Another Manchester Dawn. Sorry, I'll just get it. And this is, I suppose, about growing up, teenage life in Manchester. So I'll start. Another Manchester Dawn. Sex is glass in suburb flats, a telephone box at the local shops, a double-decker ride past Pomona's stinging towpath, a bird's eye belly view for a cathode girl from a Catholic street, metal Johnnies in Palmolive's yard, flow pipes, decaying cleats, clinging on to the obsolete, Joy Division and New Romance, boys or girls in electric dance or 3-litre engines with empty tanks, anoxic anthems of synth pop trance, dry martini and lemonade, thanks. A pressing hand on stone, the flesh between brick and bone, tip of a finger on bud of buddleia, tissues torn on a brown grey grease wall.
God, that last line again, mate. Made me shiver. That one there it has. Oh, God. You are very good at that. If people ever see you live, and you can really give a real sense of emotion in your pieces, but not saying it sometimes. Those last couple lines were spellbinding then. Incredible stuff.
Thank you. I think it's the shock of it all. You know, when that's why I called it Another Manchester Dawn. Thought I already knew Manchester, but this is a different level of life I hadn't yet encountered before. So we all go through it, don't we?
Oh, so, completely, yeah. And we'll keep going for a level as long as you live in Manchester or growing up around there, definitely. So, right.
And finally, I'm going to finish with one for you, Stretford Precinct.
Brilliant.
Okay. So, Stretford Precinct. She was in supermarket overalls, walking home from a late shift at the traffic lights, when she turned and saw him on the 3rd floor of the multi-storey, still collecting trolleys. She recognised his silhouette, and he looked at her, crossing over the carriageway. He raised his arm in the air, signalled her to wait, then ran in the pouring rain to the red, amber and green, where she stayed, through spaces lit and unlit, ramps, railings, roads, until her umbrella. He held her hands on its stem, tilted it so that the cars could not see their first kiss. The night bus tires yielding and dissolving.
Well, that last line, dissolving, is brilliant because it's, like I've said before, Mary, both me and you were both previous of Stretford, and it's like, obviously, I don't know how often you go back to Stretford nowadays. Like, in my case, I'm up there as much as I can for my family. My parents still live up there, and my sister does, and her family. But it's like, every time I go down there, it feels like the area's moved on from what I used to know it as. It must be the same for you as well, isn't it?
It is, but that big multi-storey car park's always going to be there. I don't know whether they're going to
for the moment, yeah, because like it's obviously if you look at what the plans have got going forward to Stretford now, it does look like it's going to be changing a bit. And
yeah, no, it looks great actually, and it's long overdue. I think it needs that little bit of a life injected back into it, and I think opening up to the canal is going to be good.
Yeah, I do as well. Unfortunately, it will take away from our poems around about Stretford, then, won't it? We won't be writing about grimy, miserable Stretford anymore, will we?
Yeah, we want the grime, the dirt, but no, we'll always have it in the memory anyway, won't we? I feel like I know Stretford by its curbstones. and it's, you know, bits of patch of tarmac and things like that. I feel like that. I get upset when a curb has been changed for a new thing. I go, no, that was my curb. I used to tell that. Can't change that.
Oh, it does. It's just bizarre because, like, it was every time when we first met Mary over at the SIP Club in Stretford, which is now sadly gone. But I knew that before, and I don't know if you knew this, when it used to be a job club before that, and it was also at one point a tailor's as well up there as well. So
yeah, above pants where you got your first jeans pants.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I went up there when I was 17, so that showed you how long ago it was as well. So, well, as I know, it still says memories, and that's what I really like about a lot of your work is they really did the memories, but the stories that stand up really well, no matter how many years you look at it. So they were brilliant here today, Mary. So thank you for that. It's been much pleasure.
You've always been so supportive of me, and thanks for bringing me out of the shadows and helping me.
Well, next stage, Mary. I was wondering, we're going to keep Mary to keep coming out of the shadows because she's too good to stay in the shadows, definitely so. But anyway, hang around, Mary. Obviously, I need to chat to you off mic anyway about a few bits and pieces.
Okay.
But it's been a pleasure today. So I'm so sorry it took as long as it has to get you on here today as well.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Well, anyway, guys and girls, that's it for today. As Don Callis always says over Impact Wrestling, stay safe and stay over. And we'll see you all next time.
Spoken, mate.